Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at Chasing Thunder by Kesha. It's in the key of F major and you're going to need a capo on the first fret in order to play this arrangement. Okay, so let's take a look. Okay, so let's begin by taking a look at all the chords you're going to use to play the entire song. So starting off, you're going to have an E major. We're going to alter that slightly and include an E suspended fourth. We've got a C sharp minor as a bar chord, an A major, and a B major as a bar chord. Okay, so let me just very briefly take you through how to play each one of those chords. Again, just note that the capo is on the first fret, but I'm going to refer to all of the chords as if we were playing them in open position. So for our E, we've got open E string, second fret on the A string, second fret on the D string, first fret on the G string, and the top two strings are open. When we come to our E suspended fourth, all we're going to do is we're going to take the first fret here, which is playing the third of the chord, and we're going to be stepping that up one fret. So the easiest way to do that is keep your E major shape down, just as I've shown you, and add in your pinky here, right next to your third finger, on the second fret of the G. So where we were hearing the first fret with the first finger, we're now hearing the second fret. You don't even really need to take your first finger off, because you're going to be coming back to that pretty much immediately within the context of the song. So that's E sus4, kind of looks like an A shape, moved down a string. Okay, for our C sharp minor then, we're going to come up 4 frets from our capo and bar all the way up to the 5th string. We're not going to be playing the bottom E at all, but yeah, barring the top 5 strings with our first finger. We then have third finger on the 6th fret, pinky on the 6th fret of the G, second finger on the 5th fret of the B, and the bar is going to catch the 4th fret on the high E as well, so we sound. For our A chord, we're going to come back down here to the open position, open on the A string, again not playing the E string at all, second fret on the D string, second fret on the G string, and second fret on the B string, and you can play that either this way around or this way around, and try to keep your open E ringing out. So for our B major then, we're going to bar at the second fret, again only up to the A string and not playing the E string at all. And then with your pinky, you could make a secondary little bar here at the 4th fret on the D, G and B strings. We're not really going to be catching the top E at all, so it doesn't matter if that kind of gets muted either underneath your pinky or underneath your first finger, as you can hear there. If you prefer, however, you can play what looks like an A shape with your second, third and fourth fingers and then bar at that second fret again. That's the same shape, just being played with one finger here or 3 fingers there. Okay, so let's have a look at how we play those chords throughout the song in the various different sections. Okay, so for our intro and our verse, we're going to be playing a finger picking pattern. Now I'll show you the right hand part in just a moment, but the actual chords we're playing are going to be an E for 2 bars, but in the second bar we're going to introduce that E sus4. So really it's a bar of E and then a bar of E sus4. So that's our intro, just those 2 bars, and it should sound a little bit like this. So you can see we've got the E, E sus4, and then we we start our verse. Now the verse actually starts with those same two chords again in exactly the same fashion. So a bar of E followed by a bar of E sus4. We then get 2 bars of C sharp minor, 2 bars of A major, and 2 bars of B, and that entire progression repeats again for our verse. So we'll play through that twice. So let me just play that verse part, starting with our E. Okay, so now we come to the pre-chorus part of the song, and what we're going to do here is largely use exactly that same chord progression that I've just shown you, but instead of finger picking it with the right hand, we're going to just play each chord once and hold it for 2 bars. So essentially we have our E for 2 bars, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, doing away with that E sus4, and then we go straight to our C sharp minor for 2 bars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, A for 2 bars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then to our B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can hear each one of those chords held over 2 bars, which means that that second bar, as I said, of E sus4 kind of falls by the wayside as we've just got that E ringing out for 2 bars. There's no repetition on that pre-chorus, we just play through the progression once before moving on to our chorus section. Now the chorus section is again largely the same chords. We're going to here just introduce a bit of a strumming pattern in the right hand. It's really simple though, we're just going to be playing the downward beats, so the dominant beats of 1, 2, 3 and 4 for each bar. So again here there's no E sus4, we're only really introducing that when we're playing our finger picking pattern, but our chorus has exactly the same chords as in our verse and our pre-chorus, but we're actually going to stop at the end for 2 bars and leave a silence rather than playing the B. So our chorus should sound a little something like this, where we get 2 bars of E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, C sharp minor for 2 bars, then A, 2, 3, 4, stop, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. At which point we would then move into the bridge section of the song. Again, this is largely using a lot of the same chords, but the movement is quite different here. So we're going to start with an A chord, and what we're going to do is we're going to play A for 3 beats before moving to a B for the final beat of that bar. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we follow that up with a complete bar of B. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. At which point we slide up to our C sharp minor again, and we're going to do exactly the same idea that we've just played there. However, we're going to be playing a C sharp minor for 3 beats, and then an A for that final beat of that bar, and completing the section with a complete bar of A. So I know that sounds quite convoluted, but once you get the hang of it, it's really rather straightforward. So that C sharp minor, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. At which point, when we're finished with the A, even though we're going to stay on the A, we're kind of going back to the beginning again. I'll play you through that section with the repeats now so you can kind of see and hear what I mean. So we start on an A and finish on an A. So it's really important here that you keep track of what beat of the bar you're on, so you know whether you're playing the A at the end of the final bar or the beginning of the whole progression, starting over again and repeating. So I'll play it through for you twice, which is basically how many times it's played in the bridge. This section comes back again later on for what I'm going to call our middle 8, and it's also sort of towards the end of the song in like an extended outro section, but it's exactly the same as this, just with more repetitions. So here we go, we start with our A. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and repeat 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, which point we either move back into our intro section and go around every section that I've just shown you again, or as I say, we stay in that same kind of pattern, but we kind of just play each as one strum for our middle 8. So when you get to the middle 8, you're going to be using that exact same progression I've just shown you for the bridge. However, you're only going to play the chord changes, if that makes sense. So when I change from the A to the B, that secondary bar of B, I'm just going to let the chord ring out for that. So if we play that same progression for our middle 8, it sounds something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. At which point we then revert back to the same strumming pattern that I just showed you for our bridge section until we're finished with that section at the end of the song, and then we drop back down into our intro and verse part to finish. But I'll take you through that with a bit of a playthrough towards the end. Okay, so that's all of the chords in our left hand and how they fit together for the various sections of the song. So let's just take a quick look at the finger picking pattern and maybe just some of those strumming patterns in a little bit more detail in the right hand. Okay, so taking a look at the right hand now, and largely the most complicated thing you're going to be having to do with your right hand in this song is playing the finger picking pattern for the intro and verse parts, although those two parts sort of blend into one. So let's take a look at what that is. To begin with, we have our E chord. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be playing the root note of the chord with our thumb as our first note. So for the E, we're playing the bottom E string, open. Then using our second and third fingers, we're going to catch the top of the chord, not the top of the guitar, but kind of the first fret on the G and the open B string. So just those two fingers allocated to those two strings, played simultaneously. So we get thumb and then the B and G strings together. We then finish off this pattern by playing the second finger on the G yet again. So that's going to give us the first fret on the G, which is the third of the chord, and then playing with our first finger the D string, which is sounding the second fret as part of our E chord. So we never actually play the A string, but I think it's probably easier just to keep your E shape down in its entirety rather than just putting the fingers down on strings that you're going to be playing. It'll help you to memorize the shape and the chord progression much more easily. So just to reiterate, we've got thumb on the bottom E, two fingers together, second and third finger on the B and G, played together. We then come back in with our second finger and play the G again as a single note and descend down to the D with our first finger. So all together for one measure, that sounds. And that's actually half a bar. When we play it once, it's half a bar. Which means that for a bar, we need to play that measure twice. So one bar of E sounds like this. Once we've done with our first bar of E, all we're going to be doing in our left hand is adding in that pinky to alter the E ever so slightly from being just a straightforward major chord to being an E suspended fourth. And our pattern in our right hand remains exactly the same. So all we're really doing is picking out slightly different notes because we've altered the chord in our left hand. So a bar of E sus4 would sound like this. So you can see in the right hand, I'm really not doing anything different. It's just that we're isolating the note that we have changed, so the note that is the point of difference between the E major chord and the E sus4, so that we get that sort of sense of movement between those two bars. So our intro is just one bar of E major, followed by one bar of E sus4. That's the first two bars of our verse as well. But that put together should sound something like this. So the E, sus4, and again. So as I said, that's two bars, our intro. We then, at the start of the verse, play those two bars again. So we're playing another bar of E, another bar of E sus4, before we move on to our C sharp minor. So we adjust our left hand, C sharp minor, at the 4th fret. And now our C sharp root note is on the A string. So we need to adjust our thumb to play the root note of the chord. We're going to drop down from the E string when we were playing for our E chord to the A string where we have our first finger barring all the way up to that C sharp note. By and large, the rest of the pattern remains pretty much the same. There's a few little alterations to watch out for. So we play our thumb on the A string. The 2nd and 3rd fingers pick out the same 2 strings that they were playing on that E measure. So we've got the G and B strings together. And then exactly the same, we come back in with the 2nd finger and play the G again. 1st finger descends down onto the D string. So now again, one measure of that pattern is half a bar. So the only thing that's slightly different on our C sharp and on our A chord actually is we're going to change the 2 top notes that we play after we've played the root note with our thumb, and we do that for the 2nd measure in each bar. So I'm going to play the root note with my thumb on the A string, these 2 fingers playing the B and G strings together, and then we get the G again and the D. For the 2nd half of the bar, I come back to the root note, and now these 2 fingers are simply going to step up a set of strings. So I'm now on the top 2 strings. I'm on the E and the B with my 3rd and 2nd finger. And that means that now I'm sounding the 4th fret on the high E and the 5th fret on the B instead of playing these 2 strings. So if we put that together, we've got the thumb on the A, top 2 strings, and then the same 2 strings in the middle. So we have to kind of drop our hand back down to play the G with the 2nd finger and the D with the 1st finger again. So just that little alteration sounds like this. And again. So we put that together with the 1st part of our C sharp minor, which again was playing the 5th, the 2 strings together, and then the 2 middle strings. Should sound something like this. We then repeat that again for the 2nd bar of C sharp minor. So the 2 bars together should sound and look something like this. Okay, so when we get down to our A chord, we have a very similar idea to what we just played on our C sharp minor. So you're going to be playing the open A this time to get that A root note in the chord, and then we're going to be playing the B and G strings again with our 2nd and 3rd fingers, and then playing exactly the same, 2nd finger on the G again, stepping down to the D, and that's 1 measure, so again half a bar. However, for the A, what we're going to do is we're going to play 1 bar where we play 2 identical measures that I've just shown you there. So, and then a very similar idea to what we've just done on the C sharp minor, where we step these 2 fingers up, but once we step them up, we're going to keep them there for the rest of that 2nd bar of A. So here we've got a complete separation of those 2 ideas. We've got 1 bar where we keep our 2nd and 3rd finger on the B and G, and 1 entire bar where we move them up onto the high E and the B string, whereas in our C sharp minor we were doing that move for 1 measure each in each bar. So I think once you start to put this all together, you'll see how those 2 differ ever so slightly, and it'll help you to remember the entire progression. So just coming back to those 2 bars of A, the 1st bar we have the Then for that 2nd bar of A, we step these 2 fingers up. However, everything else remains the same. It should sound something like this. So the 2 things together. And lastly, we move on to the B chord. Now the B chord is really straightforward. You're going to be playing again the B root note on the A string, now at the 2nd fret in the left hand, and then we're going to be playing exactly the same measure that we've just played on the B and G strings, then catching the G again, and the D with the first finger, and that stays the same for the entirety of the 2 bars of B. So this one's rather straightforward compared to the rest of what we just looked at. Sounds something like this. Okay, so let's take everything that we've just learned there and put it into practice for one repetition of the entire verse. So starting with our E should sound something like this. Okay, so just go really slowly with that finger picking pattern and just get used to how it feels, even if you just start in one position, maybe just the E. And just try to train your fingers to each do their individual job. In that way, even if you make a very slight difference, like just changing something in the left hand, won't disrupt your rhythm in the right hand. And equally then when you make more complicated changes, like when we go to our C sharp minor and we're actually moving within the bar, your pattern will be kind of integrated and your hand will recognize it enough that those slight changes will feel much more simple than they actually are, because your hand is so used to, as I said, that each individual roll of each finger. Try to minimize as much as you can with practice the movement of your fingers away from the string. So we're not trying to pull away, we're almost trying to play with my thumb like into the palm of my hand, and with my fingers kind of also into the palm of my hand. So everything's sort of playing backwards and forwards rather than pulling out and away from the guitar. And that's going to help you with both accuracy and efficiency, and also help you to not get lost or hit any wrong strings as you move about through that finger picking pattern. Okay, so as I said, when we come to actually playing strummed chords, our strumming patterns are really relatively straightforward for this song. When we come to our pre-chorus, we're simply strumming each chord once and holding it. So we're playing the same chords as in our verse, but we play the E just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, C sharp minor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, B, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the only thing to watch out for there is you want to make sure you're getting really crisp, clean sounding chords so we hear every note. And also for our A, B and C sharp chords, we want to make sure that we're not hitting the bottom E. So just try to be as accurate as you can with setting your plectrum or your thumb, depending on how you're going to strum, up on the right string so that we don't get that E joining in when we don't want it as part of the chord. When we get to our chorus, as detailed before, we have a slight change in the chord progression in that we're doing away with that B and just having 2 bars of no chord. Here though, all we're going to do is just play kind of the pulse of the song. So we're just going to play 1, 2, 3, 4. All of those are downward strums. So starting with our E, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, the only thing really to watch out for there is making sure you're very accurate with your strumming so you don't hit any strings that we don't want as part of the chord, and also just making sure that that's very tight so that we're not too loose. We want to be really driving forward the song on the 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, it's just good for building up your kind of rhythmical accuracy as well. So when we get to our bridge and middle 8 sections, you're going to be playing exactly the same strumming pattern that we've just played for our chorus. The only thing that's going to add an extra challenge here is our chord changes are not kind of linear. They're not just as each bar starts we change chord, but in fact we're going to be changing chord on beat 3 of the first bar and then continuing that same chord for the entirety of the second bar, changing chord again for beat 1 of bar 3, and then changing to a final chord on beat 4 of bar 3, holding that chord for the entirety of bar 4. That sounds way more complicated than it actually is once you kind of get it underneath your hands, but it should sound something like this. So we start on an A, the first change is going to be to a B, move up to a C sharp, and then back down to an A, and it'll sound like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can hear that change is on the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again on the C sharp to the A. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the only thing to bear in mind when you come to play the bridge or the middle 8. Okay, so there's one other part that we could take a look at as a little bit of an added extra, and that's the lead guitar part that sort of outlines the chord movement in our chorus. Now it's pretty much impossible to play both this part in its entirety and the chords when we get to our chorus, so you really have to kind of pick and choose which one you prefer or which one makes most sense for your version of the song that you're going to be practicing. However, if you did want to include it, it sounds something like this. Those 2 bars of silence again. So that pretty much takes place exclusively on the bottom E string. We are going to be moving very briefly at the end onto the A string as well. What we actually have there is 4 opens, which is that open E on the bottom E string. Then we're going to split the next bar with the 2nd fret on the E string, stepping up to the 4th fret, and then sliding all the way up to the 7th fret before arriving at the 9th fret for a further 4. Then we move up again to the 11th fret for 2 and the 12th fret for 2. So again we go open, 2nd, 4th, 7th, 9th, 11, 12. We then drop down to the 5th fret for 3 and then play the 7th fret on the A. So that's the only time that we're going to step over onto the A, and we play that for just the final beat in that bar. So we get 5, 5, 5, 7, and then slide this finger all the way up to 12 for 4. So if I put all of that together again for you, sounds something like this. So open, 2nd, 4th, 7th, 9th, 11, 12, down to 5, 7 on the A, up to 12. And then those 2 bars of silence that take us from our chorus into that bridge section. Okay, so in conclusion, I'm just going to take you through a very quick playthrough of all the various sections of the song. So starting with our intro, 1, 2, 3, 4. Into the verse. Chorus, which is all the same chords, just held for 2 bars each. bars of silence, taking us into our bridge. 2, 3, 4, A. Then go back to our intro and play everything we've just played there exactly the same for one more time. So repeat everything again. Now as we get to the end of that second bridge, we're going to keep the chord progression exactly the same, but we're going to move to that strumming pattern that I showed you where we simply play each changing chord and not every beat of every bar. So your middle 8 is going to start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and repeat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we start to build it back up again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and repeat. This bit we jump straight back into our intro and a final verse. Single strummed E major chord. Thank you for watching. That's the end of this video. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to the channel and give this video a like if you enjoyed it or found any of it useful. You might also like to check out some of these videos and let me know in the comments section below what you'd like to learn next. Until then, I'll see you there.